What if the most powerful force in the universe wasn't something external, distant, or hidden behind spiritual rituals or scientific jargon, but instead something already pulsing quietly within you, waiting for your permission to be felt? For centuries, mystics and philosophers whispered of a universal energy that responds not to your words, but to the frequency of your being. Today, modern science, through thinkers like Dr. Joe Dispenza, shows us that this is not just poetic symbolism. It's a neurological and electromagnetic truth. This video is not about manifesting a car, a relationship, or a bank account figure. It's about learning to access the creative field that underlies all manifestation. The energy that forms galaxies is the same that shapes your perception, your emotions, your results. But there's a reason you might not feel it right now. That reason is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Here we'll explore the forgotten connection between thought, feeling, and the invisible field that surrounds and flows through you. We'll borrow from Napoleon Hill's fierce clarity of desire, Bruce Lipton's groundbreaking epigenetic discoveries, and the symbolic depth of Carl Jung's inner archetypes, not to impress but to illuminate. Because when you understand how to harmonize simple internal techniques with the universe's deepest rhythms, your external life cannot help but transform. This is not just a lesson, it's a return to alignment, to the truth of what you are, and to the silent agreement between you and the infinite. You were always meant to create. Shall we begin? There are moments in life when silence becomes louder than thought. Moments when the outer world continues to spin with its demands and expectations, yet within you, a subtle awareness begins to whisper, there must be more than this. It's not restlessness, it's a sacred yearning, a yearning for alignment, for purpose, for truth. Many who arrive here are not new to the spiritual path. They've meditated, they've visualized, they've repeated affirmations, and still they feel stuck, as if their inner world isn't being reflected back through the mirror of reality. This quiet frustration, the dissonance between who you sense you are becoming and what still hasn't changed in your external life, is not a failure of faith. It's a misalignment of frequency. To access the most powerful energy in the universe is not to push harder. It's to remember how to feel again, but with precision. Not random emotional surges, but intentional coherence between heart and mind. That's where the door opens. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, the electromagnetic field of the human heart is over 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain. But in our society, we've been trained to trust only the intellect, to overthink, to rationalize. We try to manifest from the mind, ignoring the deep wisdom of the heart. This disconnection creates a fragmented frequency, where we desire one thing consciously, but vibrate fear, doubt, or lack beneath the surface. And the field, the quantum space that reflects back not what we say but what we truly are, responds only to that vibration. Imagine a radio. No matter how much you want to hear a specific song, it will only play if you're tuned to the right frequency. It doesn't matter how passionately you want it or how loudly you ask. If you're off frequency, you're off reality. In manifestation, this means no amount of effort will produce results if the emotional frequency behind the effort contradicts the desired outcome. And that is where most people are unknowingly blocked. But what if tuning to the right frequency didn't require force but simplicity? What if you could begin with a breath? Coherence begins in the body, and the body responds most quickly to intentional rhythm. One of the simplest yet most profound techniques is heart-centered breathing. Inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, and while doing so, direct your attention toward the space around your heart, not as a mechanical routine, but as a way to re-establish connection. As the breath slows and the heart rate synchronizes with it, the brain begins to shift into alpha and theta states, brainwave patterns associated with creativity, intuition, and healing. In this space, the body becomes a clear channel. The emotional noise quiets and the field listens. Now introduce a feeling, not a thought, but a felt sense. Gratitude is the most accessible, not gratitude for something already manifested, but for the very possibility of becoming. When you pair this emotion with your intention, your energy shifts. You begin to radiate the reality you are choosing rather than beg for it. This subtle shift is everything. It's common to assume that accessing universal energy requires complicated rituals or rare moments of cosmic luck. But this belief is often just another form of self-doubt wearing spiritual clothes. In truth, the universe is always broadcasting, always ready to respond. The only question is, are you tuned in? Napoleon Hill, in his timeless teachings, reminded us that desire backed by faith is the starting point of all transformation. But faith is not mental repetition. It is emotional embodiment. You must feel the reality of what you seek before it appears. That's not a law of attraction cliché. It's an energetic necessity. Just as a seed must first sink into darkness before breaking through the soil, your desire must first root itself in the unseen world, nourished by your consistent, coherent emotional frequency. Still, many sabotage this process without realizing it. They oscillate between hope and fear, between visualizing and doubting. This back and forth sends mixed signals to the field, which in turn produces fragmented results. A raise appears, but is quickly followed by unexpected bills. A promising relationship starts, only to dissolve. These are not coincidences. They are reflections of inner instability. To stabilize is to trust the unseen more than the seen. It's to hold the vibration even when reality hasn't changed, especially then, because energy doesn't lie. You are not here to wish. You are here to remember, to feel, to embody. Let's return to the metaphor of the radio. When the dial is slightly off, you hear static. The message is unclear, distorted. But as you turn the knob and land precisely on the station, the sound becomes crisp, alive. The signal was always there. You just weren't in resonance. Life is the same. The universe doesn't punish. It simply mirrors. So if you're not receiving what you seek, it's not because you're unworthy. It's because you're out of tune. And the good news is that frequency can be adjusted, not through force, but through awareness. When you align your breath with your heart, when you feel instead of strive, when you trust the unseen with the same certainty as the ground beneath your feet, you become magnetic, not to things but to truth. And in that truth, everything you once chased begins to chase you, because now you are no longer asking the universe to give. You are showing it who you truly are. There is a quiet ache that exists within those who have long walked the path of personal transformation, but still feel like something essential is just beyond reach. It's not an ache of desperation, but of subtle disillusionment. They've practiced the rituals, affirmed their intentions, trusted the process, and yet their reality hasn't shifted in the way they hoped. It's as if they are standing at the edge of a river, sensing its current, hearing its power, but unable to step fully in. The water calls, but the feet remain hesitant. This hesitation often stems from a hidden belief not many dare to speak aloud. Maybe I'm not ready yet. That quiet thought, tucked beneath spiritual discipline and positive language, is one of the most persistent blockers of energy. It's not that the techniques don't work, it's that the emotional infrastructure beneath them is fragile, built on a conditional sense of worthiness. And the universe, ever honest, reflects that. Dr. Joe Dispenza has written extensively on the mismatch between conscious intention and subconscious programming. While the conscious mind may declare abundance, love, or healing, the body, the seat of emotional memory, often still vibrates in scarcity, shame, or fear. This creates energetic interference. The signal sent to the quantum field is not unified, and the field cannot respond clearly. It's not resistance from the universe, it's contradiction within the self. Most people underestimate the power of coherence, not intellectual understanding, but emotional congruence. The key is not to think differently alone, but to feel differently in the same moment you are thinking new thoughts. This is what rewires the field. The transformation does not happen in your to-do list. It happens in your state of being. Imagine an orchestra playing a beautiful symphony. Each instrument represents a part of you: mind, heart, body, memory, intention. If even one section is off-key, the entire performance feels dissonant. The same is true with energy. If your heart says yes, but your nervous system says no, the result is noise. That noise becomes delay, confusion, frustration. And here lies the misunderstanding. People believe their manifestation is being denied, when in truth, it is being delayed by a scattered signal. There is a way to restore harmony, but it requires sincerity, not performance. One simple practice, often overlooked, is writing a daily emotional statement of frequency. Not a journal of events, but a declaration of energy. For example, today, I choose to feel as though I already live in peace. I choose to breathe as if abundance surrounds me. I choose to walk as if I am trusted by life. This isn't fantasy, this is frequency training. Over time, your body begins to adapt. It listens, it rewires. Your subconscious, once anchored in past traumas or doubts, begins to trust a new baseline. And as that trust grows, your energetic field stabilizes. You become less reactive, more receptive. You begin to recognize the signs not as coincidences, but as confirmations. Yet one of the most subtle forms of sabotage arises from comparison. Watching others succeed while wondering, "What am I doing wrong?" creates an invisible split between you and your field. It introduces doubt into your vibration. It's the equivalent of stepping into alignment, only to step back out each time you measure your pace by someone else's path. This is where the symbolic depth of Carl Jung's teachings becomes essential. He reminds us that our reality is shaped not by external benchmarks, but by archetypes that reside in the unconscious. The inner child who never felt seen, the inner critic who demands perfection, the inner orphan who fears abandonment. These inner voices emit their own frequencies. If they're not acknowledged and integrated, they hijack your manifestations from within. True alignment comes from radical self-recognition, not pretending to be high vibrational, but daring to love the parts of you that are still learning to trust. The universe doesn't require your perfection, it requires your presence. The difference between performance and coherence is subtle, but profound. Performance says, "I'll act like I believe until something changes." Coherence says, "I'll feel it now because it's who I am becoming regardless of evidence." The latter creates magnetic clarity. The field responds with equal precision. Let's return to the orchestra. When every instrument plays not just the right notes, but with shared intention and emotion, something transcendent happens. The music becomes alive. The audience, your external world, feels it. They don't know why, but they are drawn in. The energy is irresistible, and so it is with you. When you are coherent, the universe cannot help but move toward you, not because you asked louder, but because you resonated deeper. You begin to embody a paradoxical truth. You can desire something without needing it. You can act without desperation. You can hold a vision without controlling its timeline. In this space, your manifestations arrive not as rewards, but as reflections. The most powerful energy in the universe is coherence. A steady, quiet inner certainty that aligns thought, feeling, and action. Not just once, but consistently. It doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. It doesn't rush. It trusts timing. So if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but nothing seems to change, perhaps the question is not what more you should do, but what inner note is still out of tune. Begin there. Feel. Realign. And allow the music of your life to unfold in harmony with what has always been waiting for you. There comes a point in the journey of inner transformation where frustration begins to mask itself as indifference. People who once burned with spiritual devotion begin to soften their longing, not out of peace, but out of resignation. They tell themselves they've accepted what is, but deep down a subtle disappointment lingers. They start to believe perhaps they've been asking for too much, dreaming too far. And in that moment, the manifestation process quietly withers, not because it failed, but because the emotional current behind it dissolved. This emotional fatigue is not laziness. It is often the result of trying to force a timeline that was never yours to control. Many believe manifestation is about certainty, about knowing exactly when and how something will arrive. But the real power lies in sustained alignment, even in the absence of confirmation. This is where the majority fall short. They believe the absence of results means failure, when in truth it often signals that their energy has not yet stabilized long enough to receive. Joe Dispenza reminds us that the quantum field responds to the electromagnetic signal of your being, not to your wish, but to your embodiment. If your energy fluctuates between faith and doubt, you are sending an incoherent message to a perfectly coherent field. That field mirrors you, not punishes you. The delay is not a denial. It's an invitation to deepen your coherence. One of the most underestimated forces in manifestation is emotional patience. We often think of patience as passive waiting, but in energetic terms, true patience is active stability. It is the art of maintaining emotional consistency, regardless of external evidence. This state tells the universe, I already know who I am, and I'm not shaken by what I don't yet see. That is not arrogance. It is energetic maturity. This is why gratitude is so often misunderstood. People practice it with the hope that it will make things happen faster. But real gratitude, deep, cellular gratitude, is not a transaction. It is a frequency. And when you learn to feel grateful for something that hasn't yet manifested, you collapse time. You tell the field, this is already real in my energy. And the field, which has no bias and no sense of linear time, responds accordingly. This is not magical thinking. It is vibrational alignment. The mistake many make is waiting for something to happen before they feel the emotions they seek. They postpone their joy, their trust, their sense of completeness. But energy precedes matter, always. There is a quiet practice that few are willing to commit to because it seems too simple. 5 minutes of emotional embodiment each morning, not visualizing your goals, not reciting affirmations, but sitting in stillness and allowing your body to feel the energy of your desired future as if it were happening now. You don't have to know what that looks like. You only need to know what it feels like. This daily ritual is not about performance. It is about frequency training. Over time, your nervous system adapts. Your subconscious begins to trust this new baseline. And your actions, once driven by scarcity or urgency, become expressions of alignment. You no longer seek proof. You become the proof. But here's where many stumble. They expect the universe to respond instantly. And when it doesn't, they doubt. That doubt fractures the signal. It's like stopping a song halfway through because the first note didn't sound like the chorus. You interrupt the unfolding before it has time to express itself. In the quantum field, everything responds to continuity. Carl Jung once said that what we resist persists, but what we embrace transforms. This is especially true for time. The more you resist the present moment, believing that something should have already happened, the more you reinforce the energetic pattern of lack. You are not only delaying what you seek, you are anchoring the vibration of absence. Instead, embrace the silence. Honor the unseen. Hold your vision like a flame cupped between your hands, not because you're afraid it will go out, but because you know it is sacred. The universe does not operate on your calendar. It operates on coherence. When your energy matches the frequency of what you desire consistently, without need, without grasping, manifestation becomes inevitable. This is not detachment in the cold, indifferent sense. It is devotion without desperation. It is the spiritual maturity of allowing without controlling. And ironically, this is when things begin to move, not because you forced them to, but because you created the space for them to arrive. There is a metaphor in nature that illustrates this beautifully. The bamboo tree. For years after being planted, it shows no visible growth above the surface. People often assume it's dead or that it will never bloom. But beneath the soil, its roots are expanding, preparing to support its rapid growth. Then, almost suddenly, it shoots up several feet in just a few weeks. Not because it grew overnight, but because it was preparing silently. Your manifestations are the same. Just because you can't see the change doesn't mean it isn't happening. The field responds not to appearances, but to consistency. In a world that glorifies immediacy, the ability to remain stable in faith is revolutionary. It is not weakness, it is mastery. When you release the need for your manifestation to prove itself, you become magnetic to all that matches your essence. And in that stillness, in that unwavering resonance, the universe listens. Not because you screamed, not because you begged, but because you remembered how to feel the truth before it arrived. There's a form of suffering that doesn't scream, it whispers. A quiet sense of exhaustion beneath the surface of spiritual discipline, a longing not just for results, but for meaning. Many on the path of self-discovery find themselves in this space, committed to their growth, aligned in intention, but secretly weary of waiting. The rituals have been followed, the affirmations repeated, the heart opened, and yet life remains unmoved. The world, it seems, is silent. This silence is not punishment. It is initiation. The threshold between desiring and embodying often feels like emptiness. But in truth, it is the deepest preparation. The ego wants proof, timelines, reassurance. But the soul asks for surrender. Not surrender as in giving up, but surrender as in giving in to the natural rhythm of life's unfolding. One of the greatest misunderstandings in manifestation is the belief that energy alone is enough, that if we simply align internally, the external will bend instantly to our will. But the universe is not a machine, it is a consciousness, a living field of intelligence that responds not to desire, but to depth, the depth of your coherence, the depth of your trust, the depth of your willingness to wait without shrinking. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, one of the most powerful states for manifestation is accessed not in effort, but in stillness. When the body is deeply relaxed, when the brain shifts into theta, and when the heart is radiating a state of elevated emotion, this is when the subconscious becomes reprogrammable. It is in this state that your intention bypasses resistance and is imprinted directly into the field. Yet most people sabotage this space before entering it. They try to control the outcome, to demand signs, to prove that their practice is working. But this urgency is a signal of lack. And the field, perfect mirror that it is, reflects that lack back. Control is the disguise of fear, and fear, even when spiritualized, sends out a vibration of separation. It tells the universe, I don't believe you'll come through for me, so I must act as though I'm in charge. This frequency disrupts flow because the truth is, you are not here to force timing, you are here to become ready. Readiness is not a mental state, it is energetic congruence. It's when your body, heart and mind are all saying yes in the same direction without contradiction. That readiness is not noisy. It is quiet, spacious, magnetic. It says, I am available, not desperate. I am aligned, not controlling. There is a practice rooted in ancient spiritual wisdom and now confirmed by modern neuroscience, the art of disengaged intention. It means you hold a clear vision, infused with feeling, and then gently release it into the field, trusting that it is already being organized. You do not obsess. You do not analyze. You return to presence. And each time you do, your signal remains uninterrupted. Gregg Braden speaks often of the power of the heart's signal. He notes that when emotion, thought, and breath are harmonized, the heart emits a coherent waveform capable of influencing even physical reality. In experiments, monks trained in emotional coherence were able to influence DNA strands in petri dishes, not by touching them, but by entering states of deep love and compassion. These are not metaphors, these are measurable realities. So why do so many of us struggle to maintain this state? Because we live in a culture that equates productivity with worth. Silence is uncomfortable, surrender feels like failure, but this conditioning is precisely what keeps us out of alignment. We are taught to chase, to calculate, to strive, but energy doesn't respond to striving. It responds to resonance. Imagine a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. If someone interferes, trying to help it out too soon, its wings won't develop strength. The struggle, the timing, the waiting, all of it is essential. Your process is the same. If you rush it, you rob it of wisdom. You rob yourself of the embodiment that only time can refine. There is wisdom in stillness. In the space between desire and realization, something sacred is sculpting you. You are not just manifesting a life, you are becoming the version of you who can hold it, who can honor it, who can expand it. And that version of you cannot be forced into existence. It must be felt into being. This is why the most powerful technique is not always a technique. It's a state of being, a state where you no longer chase signs, but become the signal, where you no longer wait anxiously, but walk as if it is already done. This is not delusion. This is spiritual maturity. In this state, even the smallest moments become sacred. Drinking tea becomes an act of alignment. Walking becomes a conversation with the divine. Your life stops being something you fix and starts being something you inhabit, fully, gently, powerfully. You begin to realize that the most powerful energy in the universe is not dramatic. It is steady. It is silent. It does not demand attention. It emanates truth. And when you match it, not just once, but over and over, with grace and patience, everything shifts. Not because you forced it to, but because you finally matched the rhythm life was already offering you. There is a moment, often subtle and quiet, when something within you remembers. Not a memory from the mind, but from the soul, a resonance, a vibration, a truth long forgotten beneath layers of striving, doubt, and seeking. This moment is not sparked by external achievement or by hearing the right words. It emerges when your being finally aligns with its own source, when you stop chasing what you already are and start feeling it fully. The most powerful energy in the universe does not arrive with fanfare. It reveals itself in presence, in silence, in stillness. It lives in the space between one breath and the next. It's not something you access once and then master forever. It's a state you return to, a frequency you learn to embody with more grace, more consistency, more love. You have not failed because things took longer than expected. You have not done it wrong because you felt lost or unsure. That is part of the unfolding. You were never asked to be perfect, only to be honest. Honest with your feelings, honest with your fears, honest with your desires. The universe responds not to masks, but to truth. And when you stop asking when it will happen and begin asking how deeply you can feel, everything shifts. Because your power is not in what you manifest. Your power is in the presence you carry, moment to moment, breath to breath. That presence is the magnet. That presence is the doorway. That presence is who you truly are. So as you move forward from this moment, may you walk not as someone seeking a miracle, but as someone who remembers they are one. Because once you've touched this energy, even briefly, it changes you. Not into someone else, but into who you were always meant to be. And that perhaps is the greatest manifestation of all. Before you go, pause for just one moment and ask yourself this. What would your life look like if you stopped resisting who you truly are and started vibrating in full alignment with it? If this message spoke to something real inside you, then this space is for you. Subscribe to our channel not for more content, but for deeper connection, for reminders, rituals, and truths that keep you anchored in the energy that changes everything. And don't stop here. The video on your screen right now continues this journey. It will take you even deeper into what you're beginning to remember, because this isn't about inspiration, it's about embodiment. And the next step, it's already waiting for you. Keep going, keep listening, keep becoming.